Okay, so what I would like to demonstrate in this video is how to make your sheet more user-friendly. And the reason for this is, as you can see, I've just put a couple of examples here. And in this example, you can see I've got WC and Western Cape and Cape Town all being the same part of the same province, or Cape Town is in Western Cape. But when you don't have certain restrictions set, it makes it possible for any user to add any bit of information. So another example is I've got Joburg and JHB, which is referring to the same area, which is ultimately part of the province Gauteng. So what I want to do is I want to add some possibilities for individuals to not type information, but rather select information. And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to use the data validation function. So first I'm going to highlight the entire column all the way down. I'm going to go to data and then click on data validation. Now there's multiple ways to do a selection of different information sets in a drop down. So the first one I'm going to demonstrate is a list from a range, which allows you to basically reference another section of data and for your drop down to contain that set of data. So I'm going to click on this block here, and in this cell I'm going to go to my reference tab, which I've already prepared, and I'm just going to highlight this section, and then I'm going to press OK and save. Now, before I press save, be aware that there is a way to either create just to show a warning to the user or to reject input. I can select either. So I'm just going to show a warning in this instance, and I'm going to save. Now, if I go back to my data, you can see these little arrows on the side. That is indicating that my list is in these cells. All these red little corners are presenting the warning sign that I asked it to show, which is showing that it's incorrect. So KZN should be KwaZulu-Natal, for example. So I will clean that up a little later. My next one I wanted to show is also data validation. This list is smaller because the only options I want here available to the user is permanent or fixed term contract. Here I've got examples of permanent and perm, which ultimately offers two different data sets, but I would like it to be one. Same as FTC and fixed term contract, it's meaning the same thing. So what I want to do is I'm going to again go and add a data validation, but this time I'm not going to use it from a range. A range is useful to use if you have a large set of data that you want to include into a drop-down list. This is just two simple ones. So I'm going to say list of items, and I'm going to type my information here now as permanent, comma as a separator. This will move my next entry to a second line, and then fixed term contract. And I'm going to go save. Now, if I go and click on this drop down, it gives me the two options. So again, I selected the show the warning sign, which is why it's got those red corners. It gives me an opportunity to very easily quickly clean up my data. I can use the same for department, access level, etc. Next, I want to do the start date and end date specifically. This is because a lot of times the users type the type dates in different formats. So some will put the day first, some will put the month first, some might type the word out, and oftentimes the way in which you type it results in converting the date into text format as opposed to date format. I want to make sure that whatever the user is typing in is going to be a date. So I'm going to add another data validation here. And in this list, I'm going to select specifically a date. I want it to ensure that it is a valid date, and I want to reject any input that isn't a date. And I'm going to save. Now, if I go and type a date, let's say to November 2022, it will accept it. If I type anything other than a date, it is going to prevent it from being entered into the cells. So this is the use of data validation to clean up some of the information. The other ways, simple ways that you can make your sheet more user-friendly is, firstly, if you have a list that extends quite far down, it is nice to be able to freeze your headers so that as the person moves down, they don't have to constantly move up to see the headers. So I'm going to go view, freeze, and I want to freeze the first row of information. Now if I scroll down, it doesn't matter how far I go down, the header will stay in place. The final thing that I would like to do is I want to make it possible to filter the data so that when there is a large volume of data, I can filter out the ones I want to look at. And this is these little icons that I've added to the headers of the cells. If I go and select here and I want to go and see the Joburg, Johannesburg, and Gauteng ones quickly to clean that up, I used my filter, it filtered out everything else. It gives me an opportunity to see the incorrect ones, and I quickly go and change it as an example.